'Tis the season. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving week. Actually, it's tomorrow, but a day early. And I cannot believe that it's Thanksgiving week already. It's been, I don't know, it felt like a really long year. I know that it might be a hard year or have been a hard year for some. I know that for us, it was definitely a little bit slower, and obviously, the economy is the way it is right now. I know a lot of people lost their jobs, and it was a tough one for sure. And I think the end of the year is just a great time to just think back, obviously, on everything that's happened, also look forward to hopefully a fresh kind of start and beginning. And I wanted to just take the time today to just to acknowledge that. And I hope that everyone is able to carve some space out for themselves to be with loved ones, friends, and family, however you choose to spend Thanksgiving or the holiday season in general. And I just wanted to acknowledge that because I think it's important, even though the holiday season is a celebratory time. I just wanted to say it out loud that I know that it's been tough for some people for sure, and that I hope this is a moment of reprieve for you. For those who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jane Yu, and for those who are subscribers, thank you for coming back and watching this video. I am the co-founder and lead wedding and event planner at UNS Events, and I help engaged couples plan and design their wedding from beginning to end. I love supporting my couples, keeping their stress levels to a minimum and enjoyment to a maximum, just helping them, step by step along the way. And right now I'm also working on a new product. You might have already downloaded my free wedding guide. If you haven't, free wedding planning guide. If you haven't, you can get it at tinyurl.bestweddingguide. And it's a timeline and checklist that you use over 9 to 12 months to plan your wedding, and so you don't have to second guess your next step. And that one is really good just for logistics and keeping yourself on track. But I'm also working on something that's going to help you just kind of lay the foundations for personalizing your wedding with intention. So intentional details really matter. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for these days, because all weddings are, of course, are kind of the same, right? You have the basic elements of it, but you really want to make it your own. So I am working on a worksheet that will just help you do that. It's going to be like a series of prompts, just a little mini guide to get you started, especially if you don't know where to start. Thank you so much for being here again. And if you find this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could click that like button on this one or any of my other videos that you may have watched. And if your heart leads you to it, please hit that subscribe button for me as well. And before I get started today, I just wanted to ground ourselves in gratitude a little bit, and ground myself in gratitude, because even every time it feels hard, I feel like I just come back to that because there's so much for me to be grateful for. And to be honest, I feel like my current state of being and work and life I have nothing to really complain about, which I'm very thankful for. I think a lot of it is the weight of external pressures and just building the business that kind of gets me, or I feel weighted sometimes, and that's my personal kind of journey in life. But at the root of everything, I have everything that I need, which is, I know what is a lot more than what a lot of people can say. But I have my husband and partner John, and my family and close friends that I can rely on, and that's the number one thing that I'm so thankful for. And of course, having a roof over my head, I remember that every day. That's not to be taken for granted. So I just wanted to ground myself in that. And then the other thing related to this is I have been really grateful for this journey of doing the YouTube lives, the Wedding Planning Wednesdays. And I think it's, my YouTube journey just has been kind of a long journey thus far. I started in late 2023, more trying to do like vlogging, and then I pivoted, or not pivoted, but I moved into how-to sort of wedding videos. And I just realized that just took a lot of editing and time that I didn't have, so it was really hard to be consistent. So I started the live series 3 months ago or so. I think this is maybe my 15th one. And excuse me, this is my 15th one. And I have been really enjoying it. It's been challenging for sure. In the beginning, it was really hard to even do the first one because I was really scared of what, I don't know, because really nobody has been watching live, but I have been getting a lot of replays, which I am so thankful for. And I feel like I'm finally slowly starting to grow this wedding planning community of engaged couples, or maybe you're just a wedding enthusiast, maybe you're dating, maybe you're single, it doesn't matter. You're here for just all things wedding, and I am so thankful that you're here. I hope I've also been helpful to everyone. I feel like sometimes a lot of the things that I talk about have similar themes, but I feel like there's so much to talk about, especially I've been learning so much too, just doing research on my own in different communities, seeing what people are saying about weddings, and really trying to figure out how to help people planning their weddings, because this isn't something like going after a career or losing weight or something like that, where it's like a consistent sort of journey. It's like a one-time thing that happens in a very short period of time that's really, really intense and emotional. And I hope I have been helpful through everything that I've been sharing with you and that I've been learning and sharing with you as well. Lastly, I'm thankful that I have been growing, I feel like, as a business owner. I have been really realizing, and I knew this from the beginning, but I've been really realizing the difference between being a good wedding planner, which I feel like I have a lot of experience now. I've been doing weddings and events for over 12 years, and I feel like I have so much experience and I have a lot to offer on that front. But growing a business and building a business is a whole other thing, which I'm learning. So I'm really excited to just continue that journey and also hopefully share some more of that with you as well. So without further ado, I'm just gonna go into the art of hosting, because it is holiday season. So I know a lot of people are hosting different dinners and things like that. And even just hosting for a small party of people. For instance, John and I, we are hosting our immediate family tomorrow. It's just 8 of us. My 2 nephews, or my sister and her family, which includes my 2 nephews, and then my parents and us. So it's 8 of us, including me and John. And for some reason, it just feels like we've been planning for it, planning out the menu, then going grocery shopping, and then remembering everyone's dietary restrictions and being like, oh, we forgot this. And then asking people to bring stuff and, figuring out parking situation, because we just things, all the logistics. And for just 8 people, it's already a little bit intense in a short period of time. And a wedding is very similar in terms of, not similar, but a wedding is, you can think of it as the couple. If you're the couple, then you are really hosting for your friends and family. And of course, that can be as few as 25 people, or it can be as many people as, a few hundred, right? Just depending. And, I was just thinking about that as I was just writing out like what I was going to discuss today. And I think it's a great way though to approach your wedding planning if you think of yourselves as the host. Because wedding planning, I feel like the overwhelm comes from like, oh my God, you have so much to do. And yes, you do have so much to do, but a lot of it is like, how are you going to approach it? And how is your mindset going to be? How are you going to deal with the setbacks? How are you going to deal with just drama that happens? It's like every couple, every event is different, but something is sure to happen for sure. And I think a lot of it is how you handle it. And so I wanted to talk about it from that perspective because I don't think it's really discussed as much. It's just always like ideas of how to do this and how to do that, which is of course important. But I wanted to kind of go back to the couple. And if you're the couple in the couple or getting married, then I want you to kind of really consider this perspective. So as the host of the wedding, I've talked about this before as well, but I think the main thing is like, what is the biggest like underlying intention? How do you want your guests to feel? And with this question and answer, you'll really come up with the answers to what your priorities are, how the design is going to be, just the guest experience in general. And I think it will just help you figure out the answers along the way more easily. And a lot of the time, a moment doesn't have to be so grand. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be just so meaningful based on your experience, your story, maybe your love story, but also perhaps with your family. So a recent client of mine, she had the opportunity, or not opportunity, but she was lucky enough to know her great-grandmother for the first 25 years of her life. And her great-grandmother was really special also to her mom, whose grandmother it was, right? And so she did a dedication to her. She saved her a seat in the front row of the ceremony, put flowers on her chair, and then also did a surprise bouquet dedication to her mom, which was a complete surprise to the mom. And it was really, really beautiful because it was just, honoring family, honoring tradition, thinking about what was important to her mom. And I just thought it was a beautiful moment. And it was literally an extra bouquet of flowers that was the cost. So when I say it doesn't have to be expensive, it truly doesn't, because it's just about how you want to, what you want to portray, what you want to celebrate on that day. And at the same wedding, another moment that they had was they had a friend that they just wanted to kind of, I don't know if it's an inside joke, but they just had a friend that they wanted to dedicate a bunch of songs to. And so they did that throughout the night, which I thought was really funny. And then it just became kind of like a running joke throughout the whole wedding. And, John DJ'd this wedding. So we were just asking them, hey, like, what's the point of this? Like, is it an inside joke? Like, does he hate attention and things like that? And they were basically saying that he just is going to love it, like secretly love it, the attention, but also just going to talk about it for years because he loves telling stories and all of that. So I think that was a really fun way. And that was literally just asking John to make a bunch of announcements through the night. And I think people really loved it. It brought the energy up. It was something pretty unique that I've never seen done. And so that was a fun touch that I thought. But yeah, I just wanted to backtrack and say it doesn't have to be so programmed or so detailed or so grand. It can just be these little touch points that you think about that make it yours, and that how you want to make it fun for you and your guests. And even when you think about the programming, for instance, some people don't have speeches anymore, or they don't do cake cutting, or they do want to do cake cutting because they want that moment for their families. And so I think it's not about like what's standard. Of course, you can take those traditions and figure out how to make them your own. I think that's the most important thing that you can do. And timing is really important. For instance, if you have too much of a lull in certain like areas, I think it can get a little bit boring maybe, and you want to keep your guests engaged. But at the same time, you don't want it to feel too action-packed where there's just like no room to breathe. Then it's going to be a hard day for you as well, because there's just so much that you have to figure out, or not figure out, but like you literally have no time to breathe. And so if you want a little bit more of like a serene day, then, or not serene, but just, just like a more chill, like hang out, make sure that you interact with your guests, that you see them, say hi, then maybe consider just not having so much programming. Unless you really, really want to, but that's just something to consider. And John and I talk about this all the time, but also for the dancing, I think there's definitely like a sweet spot for the timing. I just noticed that when we have added time to the dancing part, it's usually around an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And I really think that's a really good sweet spot because by the end of it, everyone's really tired. And if you do want to go do something else, there's a handful of people that maybe want to go to the after party or whatnot. But when you start getting into that 2.5, 3 hour mark, everyone is a little bit too inebriated, a little bit too sloppy, and it just isn't like the energy isn't going as much. So unless, you have a different kind of format somehow, like we did a cocktail party before where we kind of broke up the dancing and it kept the energy going. But I know, like just thinking of that kind of timing and like how you think your guests will, like their energy will be and how you want the night to end. And one of our clients, we did a 3-hour dancing session, and they were not even on the dance floor for the last song because they were just so tired. And so I think that's just also something to think about. Of course, you want to have fun, but you also want to think about your energy level at that point from the time of getting ready all the way to the end. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is there are going to be kind of moments that aren't great, moments that really suck. And it's going to come in the form of curveballs, maybe from your vendors, them not being responsive, your family being annoying. Maybe you're having some drama with your wedding party. You ordered something and it's not what it was supposed to be, etc. Like it's going to happen. And these days right now, I've been on a lot of different just platforms, just seeing what people are talking about it. And these days, a lot of people have just been talking about people being irritating. And that's totally fair. I feel like, I've talked about this in past videos too, like people in weddings, it brings out the best in people, but also the worst. And you are going to notice it with your friends, with your family. Things like I've seen people, they text you like 2 days before the wedding, like, being like, oh, like, where's the reception? What time is the ceremony? And it's like, bro, look at the website, And I think being a host, just tying it back to that, is handling those kind of crappy moments with grace, but also setting boundaries too. And I think you have to remember to do that. You can't please everybody. Of course, you want to be, respectful. But at the same time, they're not being respectful of your time, of your kind of process when it's the week of your wedding, and they're texting you, where's the reception? And I think you are allowed at that point to protect your own peace, protect your kind of joyful space, and tell them to, hey, please respectfully refer to the website, which was shared with you with the invite or whatnot. And I think communication definitely goes a long way. There's always going to be, just rude people that you deal with. Hopefully not your guests, but like your vendors. And I will do an episode or a show on how to be a good guest. And, I think a lot of times people are like, are we, like the couple, they're like, are we bugging for thinking this of someone? Are we being bratty for thinking this way of somebody? And maybe sometimes the answer could be yes, but a lot of times I feel like guests just don't know, how to be respectful. For instance, like not showing up after, like just with no communication, like not even saying sorry for not coming, like you're just not gonna show up, and then don't say anything until you never, right? And that has been known to happen. I think it happened at our wedding. There's going to be people who don't give you gifts. I've seen that happened at my wedding too. And I have seen things on just different places about that. And to me, it is what it is. And I think the more that you accept that this is just part of the process, it's going to be better just for your mental state of mind and for how you approach it. And, being a host is a balance of giving your guests a great experience, but also leading them through it. So people like to be told what to do, like what's happening next, because they don't just like to be left in the lurch about like what's next. I mean, of course, a lot of weddings are very similar in terms of timing, but that's why engagement, like keeping guests engaged, is really important. And as you move from like thing to thing and element to element. So that's something we can get into in more depth at a later time. But it's really leading your guests through that. And by telling them, hey, please refer to the website, that's one way to do it rather than trying to answer everyone. And I can see some people being annoyed, but just trying to be respectful and giving them the answer. But I would be like, no, just look like everyone's an adult, treat them like adults, and they should act like adults, is my opinion. I did want to share just one example. I saw a Reddit post about someone talking about their experience with their brother-in-law, well, now brother-in-law, but at the time future brother-in-law. And basically, long story short, this brother-in-law was not reliable, was proven to not be reliable. And the groom basically still wanted to give him a chance to show up at the wedding. So they did give him some responsibilities, and essentially he didn't deliver what he was supposed to, which sucked for the bride and groom. And I think at that point, the groom realized that he shouldn't have given them that responsibility. But I also get it, because family is hard. Like, setting boundaries with family is hard. You also want to give them the chance to redeem themselves. You want to think that they're gonna show up for you, that they are going to be reliable. And it really sucks when they don't do that. But I think in hindsight, well, one thing that I liked that she said was that her groom acknowledged, or her husband acknowledged, that they shouldn't have given the brother those responsibilities, especially just with the proven track record of the past however many months where he just wasn't showing up for them. And so I think that all goes back to say, prioritize protecting your peace, your joy, and make sure to communicate that with your partner. Because if they don't know, and you can use these examples, because there's definitely examples of other people going through the same thing. And so it's like, I don't know, this really packed like year of planning and dealing with people and all of this, it brings up a lot of things, I think, in people in different ways. And a lot of it can be, what's the word? You can face it and make sure you deal with it and handle it by talking about it. So, all that to say, hosting is obviously between you and your guests, like you giving your guests a good experience. But in order to be good hosts, you two have to be on the same page and also take the sort of seat of leadership in giving your guests a good experience. I hope that makes sense, because I just thought about it in light of just the holiday season, and even being a good host for something like a small dinner party. It's important, right? Like, you're inviting people into your home. Today, I wanted to be a good host. Thank you, John, for acknowledging the candles. I wanted to be a good host today by just switching up the decor. I just wanted to feel a little festive. So I, just put out some candles just to give a little bit of a cozy vibe. And, that's all part of creating like the vibe and the feeling of where we are, right? And so when it comes to lighting even, or the music, the sense that you have, like what you're going to tell people or how you're going to greet them when they walk through the door. Like, even all of those things are, like, you might not think about it because it just comes second nature, but it's totally all part of the experience. So when it comes to a wedding, you think about all of that, right? Like, what's the first thing they see when they walk through the door? Who's the first person they see? How are they going to be greeted, etc. So if you have like a venue manager that's not a personable person, or not like a friendly face, then that's not the first person that you want greeting your guests at the door. And also, like, I worked recently with a caterer that was just not friendly, and he was serving people at the buffet and was like throwing pieces of meat on people's plates. And I was like, that is not like that was just beyond me. But anyway, I just wanted to give you examples of things that can happen. And a lot of things can be out of your control. But for the things that you can control, I would really get on the same page as your partner. And so you can figure out and make sure that you show up as good hosts for your guests. I really hope that was helpful. I really hope that everyone has a safe holiday, that everyone has a really restful holiday, that you eat a lot of food where you can't fit into your pants or your outfit. Next week, I am going to be discussing my transition from doing brand events to weddings, because I think it's important for me to share that, because a lot of times people are like, oh, brand events are so cool, and like, why did you want to transition to weddings? And I do get that question a lot. So I did want to talk about that a little bit, just to share some of my story, and also how it makes me, I feel like, a better wedding planner. And just having been in that world, just at agencies and freelancing, how it just makes me, I feel like it's setting me up on my business owner, entrepreneur journey. So next week I'll be talking about that. And with that, have a great, great holiday weekend. I am sending everyone good vibes and lots of love. And again, I hope you have a really, really good one, that you're spending it with loved ones. And I will see you next week. Have a good night.